Yeah, welcome to our first podcast, Restart After Divorce. I'm Xiying.
And I'm Lee. And that's where we start.
That's where we start. So to clarify, we are not divorced from each other.
No.
No, thank God, right?
Perish thought.
And we are not dating.
Nope, we are just friends.
And doing this for fun.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly, for fun, to show that there can be life and there can be fun after what can be a fairly traumatic experience, but that we're here to show that there is life, there is still stuff that you can be doing, there is still so much to look forward to.
Totally, yep.
So we should start with a quick introduction. Obviously, both divorced.
Right. Just once, though. But kind of twice.
Yeah, kind of twice for both of us, actually.
Yes.
So we had practiced. What can we say?
I know.
They had the starter marriage. We both had starter divorces. And the good news is that I think we're both in situations where we have handled the situation particularly well. We've had challenges, which I think we'll be getting into, without ever divulging anything about the other halves in our lives. I think it's important to realize that we are respectful to our other halves, the parents of our children, and to those people who are still very important to our day-to-day existence. Being divorced does not mean you stop living. Being divorced does not mean you stop being a parent. Being divorced does not mean you stop being friends. It's important to realize that divorce is a step in your life. Many people don't ever experience this, and fantastic, great for them. Unfortunately, we were both in situations where things did not work out, and for better or for worse, which sounds like part of the wedding vows, we ended up having to make decisions to go our separate way. And we're here today to show that that does not always mean that things are doom and despair. So I'm going to stop talking for a minute to give you a chance.
Yeah, I think the podcast is about, divorce is rough, and I had to go through too, and Lee had to go through similar things, but I think there's just so much to learn, and I definitely think I'm a happier person, better person, kinder person after I gone through those things. So I'm so excited to share my experience with Lee, with all of you, about the divorce and life after divorce. How do we manage that, and how could we have a better life after that? And then our first topic is about acceptance. So it took me a very long time to accept the fact that I was divorced. It took more than, I would have to say, like 8 years.
Yeah. Now, was that because you felt, I'll use the word ashamed? Did you feel there was some stigma to this?
Yes, because I'm a perfectionist at heart. So it just made me feel like I wasn't perfect and I was flawed in many ways. And it just didn't feel good to share that part of, the wound with others. But the funny thing is, people around me all knew I was divorced. But I didn't tell them, but they figured that out pretty quickly. But the point is that I had to come to terms with myself, doing a lot of healing, and just accept, like, I'm not perfect, and be able to announce it to people that I wasn't. And once you did it, it's like, oh, I'm free from that.
So how did they respond? I mean, if they already knew, that's one thing, but how did they respond when you actually did declare to them?
I think people were just like, yeah, it's fine, we knew. Like, it's not a big deal. I mean, yeah.
I went through a similar kind of period where it's certainly not a badge you want to go out there and keep displaying. It's like, hey, look at me. That's not what we're trying to do. I think to some extent you want to minimize that aspect of your life. I remember it took me a while to tell co-workers and friends, and it's almost like coming out. It's like you sit down and you have that conversation with them. I have something to tell you.
Yes, and people are like, okay.
Well, everybody says sorry.
Yeah, they do, but it's like they are just like supported and say, okay. I mean, we knew, kind of like it was on the walls. It's not surprising that you are divorced, so it's almost like, oh, okay.
Did people say they saw a difference in you after you told them?
No, they didn't tell me that, but I think I saw myself differently after I told them.
Yeah. You felt as if you weren't hiding anymore.
Right. So it's just like that big part of me being a single mom, being a divorcee, just like, I'm free from that, from judgment, from being not perfect. That part of me is out.
Do you still find yourself at times skirting over that fact? Like you're selective, you're not hiding it, but if you meet somebody new, you maybe do not necessarily jump straight in with that opening gambit.
I think I worry about it less with time, right? So at the beginning I was like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna tell people? When I first got divorced, it was just much harder, but now it's just like, is it on a need-to-know basis? Does that person need to know in that particular situation?
Yeah, I ran into that. I was on a flight back from England and I started talking to the guy in the seat next to me and we were talking about our children. He was talking about why he was in England. I was talking about why I was in England, and at no point did I mention the fact that I'm a single dad. Well, I'm not technically a single dad because we still have a very healthy co-parenting relationship. But it felt as if maybe this is the important fact. It didn't matter. We were talking about the children. We were talking about how we interact with our children. Whether we were divorced or single was not material to the discussion, which was the relationship we have with our own children. Maybe that's part of what we come out with from this, which is that you do not need to lead with that. It's not as if we have some kind of scarlet letter on our chest that says D for divorce. It doesn't make a difference in real terms to who you are unless you choose to make it that way. Now, admittedly, I think we're fortunate we have the financial wherewithal to not necessarily feel as threatened and constrained as some couples do, I think that's something we can discuss in other episodes, which is that we lucked out. We were very fortunate because of our careers, because of our education and such. I think divorce is a very different experience for us compared to other people who maybe aren't as fortunate, that they didn't have the financial wherewithal to actually roll with that change in their lifestyle, their circumstance, as easily as maybe I did, and possibly you did.
Well, I had to go through different phases, and it was challenging for me at the beginning, and then we can talk about it at another episode. But I do feel it's almost like it's a little bit like you said. You had that conversation with the guy on the airplane. You didn't even mention that you are divorced, but it's like once you are comfortable with it, you are like it's just like a little part of me, right? But then if you are not comfortable with it, it's almost like it just seems so much bigger in you. Like, hey, I'm divorced. When am I gonna tell other people? It's the fact like you're comfortable with it, you accept the way you are, and you're like, you know what? It's not a big deal.
It's an interesting point. It's like it could be like a psychological blemish on your face.
Right.
You think everybody spots that spot.
Right.
It's like as soon as you walk into the room, they go, divorce. But that's not the case. People do not. In fact, I know from personal experience, you walk in, unless you tell them what's going on, they're completely unaware. We carry a lot of burdens with us, a lot of baggage with us as we walk into a room and meet people, which frankly is going to impact the way that we interact with people. But if we just pushed it to one side, it probably will not make that much difference. They're going to accept you one way or the other.
Right.
And of course, if they don't accept you because of that situation, that component of your life, then that says more about that person than it does about you.
Right. Yeah, I think we all have, nobody has a perfect life. Nobody's perfect. We all have blemishes. We all have wounds. We all have things that we need to work on. And I think as long as I don't think people will be so focused on your, like divorce or the fact that you are a single mom or single dad, as much as you do, because you look at yourself as like, oh my gosh, I'm so not perfect. Like, it's like I was divorced and now I'm going through it again, and just feel so ashamed and feel so bad about myself. But at the end of the day, nobody has a perfect life. People all have their own, problems, and it's about, coming to terms for me, like accepting myself that it is the way it is, and I need to focus my life on other things rather than being, divorced and just judging myself. The judgment is like, I am judging myself. It's like, I don't think anybody is judging me being divorced, but it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm judging myself, and that's just the worst judgment. That, being ashamed, being judgmental about yourself. I think that's way worse than what other people, do. I don't think they care as much. I think they're okay whether you are divorced, as long as you're a decent human being, right? And they're like, oh, okay, that's
they
fine.
have their own issues to deal with.
Right.
I mean, your marital situation really is immaterial to them.
Right.
It can be difficult at parties, that kind of thing.
But but if you're a decent human being, everybody wanna, and a good, can have a good conversation with you, right? You're gonna be a social, and people will like you. Nobody's gonna be like, oh, divorce, no.
Okay. Well, you say nobody, but there are some people. There are going to be people out there who do judge you, but then you're selective with your friends.
Yeah.
If it becomes an issue for them, then there are other people out there who are not going to have the same mindset, the same attitude towards you as a result of this. And so you just move on to the next person.
Yep, that's true. And my son did look up the divorce rate. It's like 42%. It's pretty, I thought it was 50, because back then it was a little bit almost 50, but he was like, oh, it's 42. It's actually went down a little bit.
But maybe it's worth looking at what the marriage rate is as well. Have marriages increased, or is it that, if there are fewer marriages, then there'll be fewer divorces? Admittedly, it's a ratio, it's a rate, but then people maybe aren't just getting married as much as they used to when they were our parents' generation.
Yeah, so looking at it, a lot more people go through this than we think when we just happen to us. It's just like, it's pretty common that people get divorced, and then it's just like, oh, why did I do it to myself? Like, being so, feel so bad about it. It's actually pretty common. I mean, it's not uncommon, right? So
it's not uncommon, but it's ultimately a very personal thing.
It is.
It's something you yourself feel. It's difficult to take solace in a statistic when what that statistic represents is something that can be so painful and personal. It's saying, well, 42% of people get divorced, or 42% of couples get divorced, isn't necessarily going to make it any easier than saying 15% of people break their leg. And because
still hurts,
15%,
right?
It still hurts like crazy.
Yes, it does.
It's like nobody's ever broken their leg and gone, well, a lot of people have gone through this. That makes me feel better. I can handle that. I can handle it because I know I'm not by myself in this. So, it's interesting. It's like, you ask yourself, how did I get to this? But then sometimes you also ask yourself, well, how did I get married in the first place? It's like, what caused it? Like, we've had conversations with other people where it's been, maybe we should think about this in the same way we think about leasing a car. After
Okay.
3 years, you get a choice. Do you want to keep this or you want to keep going? Like, time to swap out. But, you know, it's personal because relationships are so innately personal. The problem is your feelings change with time, change with the person, and it's not a stable, static situation you find yourself in. You are going to evolve over time, and sometimes it can be that the person you fell in love with, you married, isn't ultimately the person that you should be with. You know, so obviously there are going to be instances where there truly is fault with one person, but a lot of times you probably find the chemistry just isn't right. I found myself in the period after divorce reading a lot of stories where they would say about a celebrity that their parents divorced at 6 years old, or her parents split at 10 or something like that. And I always remember thinking to myself, based upon my newfound experience, that the way it's implied in those articles is that divorce itself is inherently a bad thing. Yet no time was given in those articles to actually try and elaborate what it was like in the marriage. What was going on in the marriage in terms of the person's behavior to each other or their children that said divorce was the best way to go. It's not necessarily a black and white argument that marriage is good, divorce is bad. Sometimes it can be the complete opposite. The marriage itself is bad, the divorce is good. I personally did not suffer a bad marriage. There were issues that occurred that we were just not right for each other. It took a long time to realize that, but by the time we'd done that, there were kids involved. But when we did it, I think we're better people for it. And I think that's where you can say that the concept of shame needs to be kind of balanced out with the concept that you need to be better and healthier in yourself. So whatever your shame is, that's kind of like the id and ego and superego coming into play. That you believe, based upon what cultural norms are, divorce is bad, therefore I feel shame. When in fact your personal story, your personal narrative can be, this is the best, healthiest thing I could have done for myself, for my kids, for my partner. That shame can be misplaced because you are looking what other people's expectations or understanding of divorce are.
Yeah, a lot of it's, I think, cultural. That you know, the way you grew up, you know, depending on your family and the society, you know, and then the media, right? How they portray like single moms and single dads. It's not always positive,
It's not always positive for married mums and married dads.
That's true, right? But I think it's just a lot of these expectation is the ones that I placed on myself. It's like from the culture, from my parents, from my family. And when you're going through a tough time, you don't even think about those things, right? You just like, it's just, divorce was just so rough of, you know, just making things work. You don't even like have time to work on, you know, accepting yourself or, you know, the shame, all that things.
How did your parents respond when you told them? Now, are your parents still married?
No, they are divorced.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were happy, I think, that I got out of it.
Were they like, it took time?
No, it didn't take them time, actually. Yeah, it's kind of a unique thing. My parents were pretty happy about it. Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah, but they were not supportive. I mean, they couldn't support me, like, you know, with the kids or financially, but they were, you know, they were happy that I got out of it.
Sure.
So that's, I guess, the difference.
Did they ever say to you when you told them, well, we expected that at some point?
Yes, they did.
Now, when did your parents get divorced? When you were a child? Or
Yes.
So you experienced divorce at an early age?
Very early, when I was about 13.
Okay.
But the difference was that my parents were not very open and honest with me and my brother about the divorce. So make it a point to be very honest and open with my kids to say like, hey, this is what's happening, and I love them, but this is what's happening. So so my parents' divorce did shape who I am of being a mom. Just be very open with communication and open to how I feel about things.
Yeah.
How about you?
For the first marriage, when I told my parents, they were not surprised.
Okay.
I think for the second marriage it was a lot easier because both had passed by then, so I really didn't have to worry about telling them anything. But I know that I think my parents saw that there were strains in the relationships. So, it takes a long time. I think if my parents were still around, they would have been very understanding and very supportive. I don't see them necessarily being critical. My parents were together from, my mother was 18 when she married my father.
Oh, wow.
My father was 24, and my father passed away at 66, and my mum was 70. So they spent their entire adult lives together.
Oh, wow.
So, and I'm not going to say it was perfect. I think I never saw them argue or fight with each other. I don't think parents used to do that as much back in those days, or if they did, I wasn't paying attention, but it could be that they just did not argue or fight. I do vividly remember it was a couple of days before my father passed away, and I was watching my mother on one of her rants about something that had upset her, and she's facing away from my father in his bed, and she's going off on a tear. And he looks at me and he just goes like this. And 2 days later, just before he died, he gestured to my mother to come and lay next to him in the bed. At which point I told my brother, I have a younger brother, I said, it's time for us to leave because the adults need some space. And I just thought that was a wonderful encapsulation of how their life was together, that they could have moments where they drove each other insane, but then at the end of it they were still there for each other, which I think from the standpoint of divorce, that's a rather sad thing that we won't experience that with the parents of our children. But I think it doesn't mean that we cannot be there for those partners if and when needed. So I think that, to some extent, with the shame aspect of it, the shame is still there. The shame manifests itself in various ways at various times. But I believe that if you have it in your heart you made the right choice, then you should try your very best to not feel shame based upon how others judge you.
Right.
Don't let society dictate that your actions were good or bad. If you in your heart think that you did the right thing and your children are fine with you doing the right thing, and even your partner says we did the right thing, then you should not carry that shame with you like some kind of badge.
Yeah, but it does take time to come to terms, I think. Sometimes it might take, a year. For me, it took many years, which is okay. And it's about, I'm very happy with the way I am, and that I'm accepting that,
How long have you been happy? So you said it took a long time.
I think it's been a journey to the happiness and joy. I think for the past 5-6 years, I've been pretty happy with the way things are. Did you just
wake up one morning and go, I'm cool with this?
Yeah, pretty much. I think there's just that moment where you clicked.
Did you? Sometimes I feel that what happens is that things will creep up on you in such a way that it's only when you look back you realize things are fine.
Yes, the kids are fed. I'm alive. What else can I ask for?
Yeah, exactly. Life's good like that.
All right. So
Shall we wrap up this first one?
yeah. So episode 1 is about acceptance after divorce, and please subscribe and like this. See you next time.
Thank you. Take care.